So I think it's very important to dance. Oh, sisters and brothers should love one another. And pray, yeah, yippee, yeah, yay! Yeah, yeah. Look of love.
High five to
Okay.
teachers in the 80s.
It's so important to move your energy. It's very, very important to move your energy. I just had a beautiful shower. Bless the gods. Let me arrange this fittingly so. Okay, let me turn that washing machine off before I focus. Okay, here I am on another beautiful, blessed day. I hope everybody else is also having a beautiful day. It's not even a day, it's a moment. Because when you live in the present, that's the gift. All of this mind, you know. I hear a lot of people talk about manifestations and all of these types of things, and what are you manifesting in the exterior world when you're empty inside? If you don't know your inner being, you will never ever be able to manifest the truth, the inner world, and there'll always be this emptiness. You'll go on out seeking everything on the outside world and feel empty within and wonder, why am I chasing? Why am I chasing? What's there to chase? You came here with nothing. You will go with nothing. Just remember that. And the more attached you get to these outer luxuries, these things, the more difficult it'll be when it comes to the time of death, because the more you'll have to unload. The more you accumulate, the more you'll have to unload. Now it's different when you know that inner self and abundance just follows you and you have no attachment to it, no desire for it. But unless you become somebody like a Buddha or an Osho or a Kabir, you know, you will never become at that level, that energetic frequency, that field. Because you will always be living outside in the worldly ways. And when you're living in the worldly ways, you're always looking out. And when you're looking out, the desire just goes more. And that's why we see the state of the world we're in right now. Those that think that they're running this illusionary system You know, we're destroying this beautiful earth, cutting down our trees, injecting poisons into our foods, our bodies, all these things. And then we're wondering why. And then we go build another planet on some other planet that's uninhabitable, that has zero life force, zero beauty, zero connection to what our true spiritual beings are. Kill this to go somewhere where you can't even have life and build a life. This all makes no sense. This whole system makes no sense. But we have created this. We have created a sickness upon a sickness because we have never been able to actually go to the true source, which is self, the inner knowing. Because man, and I'm not talking man as in gender man or woman, all energy is energy to me. I'm just saying man in this context. Man is too scared to look within. Too many shadows, too much darkness, too much fear to actually face the true self. And how can you be or do anything when you don't even know who you are? So what are you being and what are you doing in this illusion that you're creating? But there is one thing. There's one medicine you can take that will take you there. And that's meditation. The silencing of the mind, of no mind, as Buddha calls it. He calls it the middle path. There is no good and there is no evil. This is all mind. This is all energy. You'll know when things don't suit you or when your energy is not for it. But when we start attaching ourselves to these titles and these labels and this is this and that is that, all this mind, the inner being knows what's right and what's wrong without speaking, without judging. There's an inner silence that feels everything that when we were children has been blocked from us. That knew clairvoyance, clairaudience, clairsentience, all of these incredible, amazing things. So unless you become your own God, your own guru, you'll be seeking people, places, and things to fill these exterior voids. And it's a very interesting thing, you know, as my father says, like, as I've had a very difficult life, people look at me and think, oh, she's had a really easy life. And to tell you the truth, it's been a journey. It's been a real roller coaster. I have faced death in the eyes many, many times, physically, mentally, and spiritually. I have gone from financial highs to financial lows. I have chased illusions in relationships like most beings do. I've smoked, I've drank, you know, I've done all these worldly things and found the emptiness in them. But slowly, as I stripped away the layers of the onion and sat with myself in nature, my mind became more still. And in that stillness, I could see all these patterns, all these habits I had created from the programming of birth, whether it be from past lives, society, parenting, all of these things. Like, my parents aren't really my parents. Sure, they gave birth to me, my mother and my father. But the whole universe existence is what really birthed me. My parents were just the vehicles, the source of what I came out from. And I also chose them, and I know that. See, when you become more and more conscious and alert and aware, you're able to watch the mind. And when you're able to watch the mind, instead of it being its master, it becomes your slave because you see. And it's not controlling the thoughts in the sense of form of, oh, let's change this to a really positive thought, or let's change that to a negative thought. I let myself have the energies. And then at the same time, I don't indulge in them. And when the time comes that I have to let them go, I dissolve them into the ocean of nothingness. I just watch them like a movie. whether negative thought comes up, I don't say, oh, I'm going to change this and be so positive. Even though I live in the light of existence, and that is my true being right now, I don't block things, because whatever you repress will come for you. So it's neither indulgence nor repression. And that's the true meaning of Tantra. The real scientific meaning of Tantra is actually this inner knowing, this middle path. But in this world that we're in right now, Tantra has become sexualized. Oh, Kama Sutra, oh, all these old Indian gods. These Indian gods were so far above and beyond us that their sexuality wasn't sexuality, it was creativity. But the universe we're living in right now has made it this whole sexualized things, because everything is sexualized. And man itself doesn't even know how to make love. They don't even know how to look their partners in the eyes. People don't know how to truly connect. They're so fearful. So it's just this physical act. Like Osho says, people gather all this energy. And then it's like a sneeze. They gather the energy, and then like, achoo, a little bit of relief. And then it's gone. And then gather all the energy, a little relief. But when you become centered in your being, you don't need to gather your energy in that source and release it in that source. People are always asking me why I don't date. I haven't had a relationship in 4 or 5 years. And the last relationships I had, I could tell you too, I was very unconscious for the reasons I was in them, Ever since I was younger, I never really found much in finding myself in the other. Because I know you cannot find yourself in the other unless you find yourself in your inner being, in the totality of your silence. How can you know another if you don't even know yourself? But yet we've been sold this whole Disney ideology of come and save me, make me my other, fulfill me, my better half, my twin flame. What is all this garbage? I literally think it's rubbish. How can you have a divine or twin flame when you don't even know yourself? You can't even sit in silence. If you're getting so disturbed on what's going on in the outside world, and you're so disturbed within your internal world, how are you going to have a conscious, loving relationship? What you're doing and what you're saying and what you're being doesn't even align. So then the mirror is reflecting the mirror, and then all these unconscious behaviors and patterns and habits are reflected in your other, and you're like, well, why are they like this? How come they're triggering me like that? How come this person is this person? I thought they were this person. No, it's because you didn't know yourself. You then went into a relationship with another thinking this divine counterpart is going to save you, bless you, heal you, take you to another level, take you away from your loneliness. But you are never truly alone or lonely when you go within. I was telling my father, I literally have over 200 friends, and he's like, well, what are these friends, right? Sure, many are acquaintances and many are deep friends. I've been blessed by the gods to make real deep connections with people. But the deepest, truest friendship I have and connection that I yearn for is to go within, to be alone. When I'm alone, I am never alone. I'm in the totality of existence. And that's the beauty of it all. We are never alone. I was walking with a friend this morning, and she was telling me about an experience she has about feeling alone, and she's always had another. And I said, what was your childhood like? And she told me a little bit about it. And I said, what happened when you were a child? And sure enough, the father had abandoned her and the situation. And from that root, all the way to in her 70s now, it's following suit in all her relationships. And she's wondering why the mirror is reflecting this. And it's not these other people. It's because we haven't gone within and healed those wounds. And until you heal those wounds, you will always be searching for the other and thinking the other will be there to take you to this divine, magical place within and outside. They'll never take you there. So people ask me questions. Oh, do you think it's because you had a very traumatic childhood and all these things, you started blocking out relationships and the desires for another? I get so many stories upon so many stories asked to me as to why I want to be alone or why I remain in brahmacharya, which it's not as we think in the West. Being celibate, which I have not had sex in 4 years, it's not about, brahmacharya is not about repression or indulgence. I just don't have a desire for it. There is nobody I've wanted to open up my inner being to in that way or express myself in that energy. So I just don't. Why would I go seeking another when I'm so contented and so filled with bliss within? There's nothing I need to seek. I have everything. Existence has blessed me in so many ways. And I have so much loving expression given to me from family, friends, random strangers, nature, trees, animals. Why do I have to go searching anything? Like Rumi says, what you are seeking is seeking you. Well, what happens when you are seeking nothing? What you are seeking is seeking you. Well, what happens when you dissolve into the ocean of nothingness and you seek nothing? When you just are. When you can just be. And the only thing that will take you there is meditation. I tell my clients that come to me, I'm not here to save you. I'm not here to tell you what to do. And I'm not here to be your master. You have to walk the path. You can walk a horse to the water, but they have to drink. And there comes a time too where you have to leave me and you must leave me and I want you to leave me because I don't want you to be attached to me. I don't want you to need me. You need to know yourself. And meditation will take you there because it's an inner knowing. And only your inner knowing can guide you to that light, that bliss, that joy, that juicy source that's connected to the entirety of existence. It's really interesting. This is, I had an interesting medical thing that came up, and most people would be in deep fear. I was in deep fear myself. I face dark shadows of the night as well. And I know for me that no one can save me but me. So unless I do my inner work and take myself into my own inner being, I will constantly looking for someone, something to save me, and nothing can save me but me. And I've saved myself many, many times. Existence has saved me. See, I knew and I know I am my inner God. And my inner God will direct me to exactly what it is that I need. And everybody has a different path. I'm not saying to people, most people would not have the strength or the source to follow such a path because they've always become reliant upon another to save them. A relationship, a doctor, you name it, anything to save them, an addiction, anything to save them from themselves. No one can save me. Only I can save me. I am fully responsible for me. Everything I do, I feel, I see, I hear, everything that I have experienced in this life past is my experience and my responsibility. And if I am not satisfied with the way that something is going in existence, I have to be the transformer. I have to shift that energy. I have to find the consciousness within, in my silence, that guides me to my truth, my answers, my way of being. See, we've raised a society where since the beginning we become programmed, or we become indoctrinated in this way of having another to save us. And that's why we're in this big mess that we're in too. Oh, the government's gonna save me. Oh, this person's gonna save me. Oh, the doctors will save me. Sure, there's a time and place for everything. I agree. There's great doctors for trauma surgery and all these things if you're in an accident or such things. And we do need a system of sorts to keep this system operating. But the way that it's working right now, we obviously see that it's not operating at its capacity of consciousness, because since the beginning of time, it just keeps getting worse and worse and worse and worse and worse. So something ain't working. But if we had a universe of people who meditated, that would change all of existence. All of it. Because then you can't keep fighting. You can't fight yourself. And in meditation, as you slowly strip away the layers of the onion, the mind that you were battling all alone, all along, starts to silence. And you start to go deeper and deeper within. I've been having some really beautiful energy lately. I've always been having beautiful energy, but especially these last few weeks, I've been having great sources of joy and elation and bliss. And I know that this too shall pass, because whatever goes one way will go the opposite way. So I enjoy those emotions while they're there, but I don't indulge in them nor repress them. I'm not looking for this tomorrow. I'm not saying, oh my God, I can't wait to wake up joyful tomorrow, which I'm sure I will, because, well, I'm just living so in my being that that's the only source. I am responsible for this. But if it doesn't happen and my body wants to cry, or there's something that I need to release, so be it. I allow it. And then I know, like Abraham Lincoln says in his famous Congress speech, this too shall pass. Because whatever comes will go, whatever goes will come. I never wanted to have children in this universe, ever. Even as a young child, when I was 13, all my friends wanted to have kids and all of these types of things, but I knew children weren't for me, and I also knew this world was going to get like this. So I was like, I just don't want to bring anything into here. Though, bless many of my friends who are bringing many conscious children into this world. And a lot of people ride on this whole thought of hope or faith that they're going to be the next ones for this universe, and oh, the golden age is going to come and all of this and save them and all of this, and these children are born quite conscious and all of this. But there's enough children in this world. There is enough children in this world. We can't even take care of them. We're just creating war after war after war. Like, what is the point of, we say we don't have enough money to give water to the people in Ethiopia, but we got enough money to fund wars. And then I'm going to bring a child into here in this universe where we're depleting all the resources to be that child that I think is going to save the universe. For me, that just doesn't work. All the children in the universe are my children. I love every single person, place, and thing in existence. I don't have an enemy. Even my enemies, I have some, I have no enemies, but even people that maybe I'm not the fondest of, I still love them. And I love them deeply. Whether they've hurt me extensively, I still love them deeply. I actually probably even love them more in some weird ways, because they teach you a lot about yourself as well. Everybody in this universe, we are all just a collective consciousness of one, but it's this separation, this division of mine, me, out of my body. I want to do this. And I understand also too, man is very jealous of the fact that woman can create and give birth and energy, and many men are jealous of that because men will never ever be able to have that experience or that divineness to be able to create life. They can build buildings, they can build rockets, they can build, you name it, but they'll never ever be able to create life. And that is the strongest, most potent energy there is in existence. That's why women will always be superior to man. They will be. Even though I don't think any energetic field is higher or lower, a woman's energy, her compassion, her empathy, her sensitivity when she is truly connected, it's beyond. It's connected to the infinite consciousness. That's why the womb is such a portal in this universe, from above and below. To be able to give birth from an act of lovemaking to a seed that exists in the energy, to a soul that enters in and chooses, and then is nurtured in this fluid, embiotic fluid they call it, I think. Like salt water. That's why when we sit in Epsom salt or ocean, the body just dissolves. We sit in this energetic field and we experience what our lives are like through our parents, even though we're not even born, just being held, protected, covered. And then we come through this tunnel of life and experience all this beauty, all these experiences of our own personal truth when we know ourselves. That's why I said to my mother I would adopt children, but I never wanted to have my own. I knew there was enough work that I needed to do within and also for existence that I didn't need to have my own children. And going back to the other, when I was younger, I looked for myself in the other. Oh, this person will save this. Oh, if I do this, I'll just... Whenever I was in them, I thought, why am I in this? Really? Why am I in this? I never felt so alone and empty as when I was dating, or I had another. Because I was searching for something outside of myself. And when you search for something outside of yourself, you will never find the answers. Or if you find the answers that you think you're finding the answers for, when you come to actual consciousness and awareness, you'll be like, what was I seeking? What was I looking for? That's why your first love, usually, they say only happens once. And people have such an admiration for this first time. And why is that? It's because we weren't prepared. It was unknown. It was new. It was a freedom of just being and experiencing. But after you go through so many relationships, so many patterns, and you're not conscious and you're unaware, it's just one relationship after another, and that feeling dims. But then we're always looking for the other. Oh, that's going to be my twin flame. Oh, this and this. And people will say, oh, the Bible. Okay, let's go to the Bible. Let's go to Jesus. If you look at all the great mystics or gurus, none of them, except for Kabir. Kabir was one of the luckiest guys because Kabir and his wife Kabir was a weaver in India, a great mystic. And he actually had a wife who was just as enlightened as he was. And they had a very loving relationship and 2 children. And they had this openness. Actually, here's a story for you. So Kabir was very, very poor and he was a weaver. And what happened was they had some guests coming over for lunch, but they didn't have very much food. But his wife all of a sudden came back and she had a whole bunch of food. And Kabir said, well, where did you get this food from? And he said, oh, well, from the shopkeeper. He gave me a whole bunch of food. And he said, oh, okay. He said, well, how did you get it? We had no money and all of this. And he said, oh, well, the shopkeeper told me to come back at night. Oh, he told you to come back at night. Okay, this is very interesting. So they go and they serve their guests all this food and have a wonderful meal. And the nighttime comes around and Kabir says to his wife, it's time for us to go. And she said, oh, go where? And he said, well, you're supposed to go to the shopkeeper. Let me walk you there. And she said, okay. So it was downpouring rain and they're walking outside and all of this. And he's waiting there for him. And the shopkeeper sees Kabir there. And he's so confused because he thought the wife was going to come alone because he had other motives. And he said to Kabir, why did you bring your wife here knowing fully well of what it is that I was trying to do? And Kabir said, we always keep our word. You had asked for my wife to come here, so I've brought her here for you. And now. And the shopkeeper went and touched Kabir's feet. See, that's the depth of a true relationship, such truth, such understanding. The fact that instead of getting angry or, oh, why this, or you did this or that, he just took his wife to that experience and waited to see what would unfold. What was? She came home because she was so madly in love with him, and she spoke her truth of the experience of what was in her innocence. He, also a man of his word, said, we keep our word always. They went together as the beautiful couple as they were. And the shopkeeper, to his surprise, was baffled at the experience of the energy of what Kabir brought. He didn't bring violence. He didn't bring threats. He didn't say anything. He just did as was asked. And the truth will always expose itself as it is. But that's a very rare relationship, a relationship like Kabir's. Those types of relationships, especially in this existence where man is hiding behind so many illusions and veils, they will not get to the depth of that type of energy or that love. But all of our great masters that we've had have always never sourced children or had children in this universe. And it's time that we have a woman that has become enlightened. And the reason why these men didn't have, or women, because we have people like Kuan Yin and all of these, the reason why these energies didn't give birth is because once you become so fulfilled and so filled with divine existence and bliss, this energetic being, you know that there's nothing else that you have to do or be or create. And I'm not against children. I love children. There's a need for existence. I understand this. But right now we have way too many human beings, even though we're supposedly on a decline of what is out there. So that's why for me personally, I can create, I can write, I can dance, as you've seen. I can express in so many different mediums because I fill that energetic field with something else. Just like I can fill my sexual energy with something else. And I'm not avoiding anything. I'm just not searching for the other. I am my other. I am my twin flame. I am my beloved. I am the divine. I am my source connection to God. So I don't need to look outside anymore. All of the universe exists in me. When you change your inner being, that's when you change the exterior of the universe that you see and what it is that you live in. But if you're looking to change the outside world and you haven't changed your inner world, that's when you create a universe like we're in right now. There's an interesting story I read about Jesus, who was talking about, we don't believe in, I had a very funny experience actually. Here's the story for you. Here's a little story time. My dog is a beautiful energy that I have been able to work with. Most of his commands are through telepathy. I don't even have to tell him what to do. People that meet him think he's human. Food is a very, very important consciousness because it's the mind body. This is the first gut. In India, we know our stomachs are the first mind. So whatever you put in is whatever comes out, mentally, physically, spiritually. So we home cook for my dog every day. He doesn't drink tap water. He lives a very blessed life. I treat him as though I would treat myself. I treat everything like I would treat myself. So I was walking in the park one day and there's this woman who has this beagle dog. And it's an open dog park. You don't have to, it's a field. There's no on a leash sign, okay? And every time I see her, she's about half a block away from me. And she starts yelling, even though my dog is nowhere near her. Get your dog on a leash. Holy shit, lady, like, what are you on? My dog's not even interested in you. He's like right next to me. He's a border collie. This guy just runs, okay, like crazy. Has no interest, but her dog's going crazy, and it's on a leash and she can't even control it. So every time I usually just walk by. Your dog's unneutered. Finally, I said to myself, sometimes, and this is going to go into my story of Jesus. Finally, I'm like, you know what? I said, listen, most of the men in the world are unneutered. No one's doing anything. I said, my dog has no interest in your dog, as you see. It's not my fault, unfortunately, that you can't, quote unquote, control your dog. Okay? This is your situation. You need to deal with it. She's like, you should know that this is a dog from the SPCA. I said, lady, I volunteered there for 15 years. I was in rooms with Rotties, Dobermans that had cigarette ashes put out on their faces. They would tell me I'd have to muzzle some of these dogs because they're pretty gangster. I wouldn't muzzle them when I take them out. I would rehab them all myself. I have no fear of any animal. I said, this energy that you're giving to him mentally and through your arm energetically coming through is what's playing out on the dog, and you're actually creating more problems. And then she said to me, fuck you. And I said, oh, okay. I said, you obviously haven't been fucked in a long time because that's your train of thought, right? I said, okay. And she's going off all angry. And I told her, God loves you. God really, really loves you. All of this anger, all of this repression from this experience. And my mother has this interesting thought. She says to me, oh, Camelia, she got to you because you said something back. I said, she didn't get to me. I'm laughing. I didn't swear at her. I didn't attack her. But after 4 times of walking by her silently, something needed to be expressed. And it's exactly the same way with Jesus. There's a story about him and the money changers. And the story goes that Jesus was walked in and he saw all the Jew money changers doing all of this stuff, and Jesus couldn't handle it. And he just said, enough is enough. And he turned up all the tables and he said, this isn't happening anymore, money changers. And he just went to town on this whole situation. See, we're taught that Jesus is supposed to be this soft, loving energy, does no wrong, all of this. No, there's a time and a place where we speak up. And in certain circumstances, you can't, because it depends on what kind of insane people you are dealing with, because we live in a very insane world, as you know, right now. And so you have to also be conscious and alert if who and what you're dealing with in certain circumstances. But at the same time, there are moments that you have to speak up, because you have to have a voice, just like Jesus and the money changers. You have to have a time where you speak up about these situations. Otherwise, these people will just keep on running over you. And there's a way to do it too. We don't have to attack them. There's a way you can come at it with connection and divineness and ease with this. But I am not here to take all of this energy just from random people. Most of the time, things just roll off my shoulder like water. And even when they do these situations, they roll off me like water anyways, because you can't affect me. Like, this is all a joke. This whole existence is just energy. And when you recognize that, you recognize I don't have to take on other people's experiences or energies, because most of the time, people are just looking to unload. They want to unload their energy on you. They want to unload their fears on you, their desires on you, their imprints on you. That's why we've come to this way. You know, someone says, oh, don't leave your shoelaces undone. You're going to trip and fall. Is that your experience? Who programmed you to say that? I've been walking with my shoelaces undone now for 43 years, and I've been having no problems. See, we have to be very careful with the thoughts and the intentions that another puts on us, because then they start to play out in your life. And they become your fears or your desires. What would happen if you had none of that? Who would you be? What would you be? You would just be a fearless energy that just exists, that experiences. I made this video very impromptu, because I thought to myself, oh, I'm going to go get ready and go and do this. And then I'll come and make a video. But then, as you saw, like, I took a shower and the music song came on. Me and my dog danced a little. And then it was just time for this. Okay, so on that note, I will say, aho, aho, as my father says. When people go off on just talking about everything and things you don't care about or things you care about, or they just want to talk for the sake of talking, there's an Indian Punjabi saying there where we say, aho, aho, like, like, you know, aho, aho, right? So I will say aho, aho, and I am sending you divine light, energy. Go within. All of the answers, all of the questions that you have in existence will dissolve. And then there will be no answers and no questions. And you can truly live as an energetic being, having a spiritual experience.